There are many paths to global destruction: nuclear bombs, lethal viruses, artificial intelligence gone rogue. But there is one more thing that might just top them all: the supervolcano. Hi, it's me, and this is my channel. And if you ever want to earn 6 figures with your writing, you can learn how at the website below. It doesn't matter what doomsday scenario you prefer. All of these would result in the end of human civilization as we know it. People have long feared an apocalypse by fire or ice, plagues or nuclear winter, but also Earth itself rising up and swallowing humanity whole. Of course, the latter is actually less of a concern. The planet has not risen up and killed anyone since the Cretaceous period, when it wiped out the dinosaurs. So the real question is whether we'll have the opportunity to kill ourselves before the Earth decides to clean house again. In particular, we need to ask whether humanity could destroy itself with one of the most terrifying weapons imaginable, the supervolcano. First, let's start with some definitions. A supervolcano is defined by the size of its mouth. Any volcano with a caldera over 40 miles wide qualifies, which makes sense because a bigger mouth generally means more explosiveness. For comparison, the mouth of Mount St. Helens, the site of the deadliest U.S. volcanic eruption in recorded history, measures about 2 miles across. Meanwhile, the mouth of Mount Vesuvius, which buried the Roman city of Pompeii in ash and pumice in 79 AD, measures 5 miles across. That's big, but it makes a supervolcano look small. Yellowstone National Park sits on top of a supervolcano with a mouth that measures over 43 miles across. This makes Yellowstone the largest active supervolcano on Earth, though there are plenty of others around the world that could erupt at any time and wipe out civilization. Some examples include Lake Toba in Indonesia, Crater Lake in Oregon, and Manoon in Japan. But why should we care about these so-called supervolcanoes? After all, the last time they were all active was back in the Pleistocene epoch, which lasted from 2.6 million to 11,700 years ago. As far as I can tell, no one was around to witness it. It wasn't until 15,000 years ago that humans began migrating out of Africa and populating the rest of the world. So maybe we should be more concerned about what happened 10,000 years ago, like when the Younger Dryas impact event showered North America in debris after a comet fragmented over the continent. Or maybe the cataclysm of 8.2 Ka, when the North American monsoon system went haywire and flooded vast swaths of land for hundreds of years. Both of those events happened while humans were still relatively primitive and did not stop our ancestors from spreading across the globe and eventually developing agriculture and then chairs. So maybe we should just shrug off all the stuff that happened before modern civilization developed and focus instead on what really matters, like the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora in Indonesia, which caused a year without summer and led to the deaths of over 100,000 people. Or the 1980 eruption of Mount St. Helens, which was the deadliest U.S. volcanic eruption in recorded history, killing 57 people, including US Geological Survey volcanologist David A. Johnston. Those eruptions were bad, but compared to a true super eruption, they're basically nothing. Scientists define a super eruption as an eruption with the volcanic explosivity index of 8 or higher. Eruptions of 7 or lower are common, but don't involve anything more dangerous than lava flows and lahars, which are deadly but predictable. They don't usually pose a threat to people outside of the immediate area unless they happen to be standing next to it when it erupts. A level 8 eruption, however, is something altogether different. These can happen when magma builds up deep beneath the surface and slowly corrodes the rock around it, forming a magma chamber. Once the pressure inside the chamber exceeds the weight of the overlying rock, the chamber can suddenly rupture, sending huge volumes of gas and debris skyward. The rapid release of energy causes a violent explosion that blasts solid matter into the atmosphere. The ejected material can reach 60 cubic miles in volume. The force of the blast can be equivalent to hundreds of nuclear bombs. Pyroclastic flows can travel up to 60 miles per hour, and ash and pumice can cover thousands of square miles. Survivors on the ground will find themselves amidst a scene of apocalyptic proportions. Trees and other objects will be tossed into the air and embedded in hardened lava. Solid rock can turn to glass. Entire forests can be obliterated. Hot avalanches of gas and solid matter can surge through valleys, incinerating everything in their path. Even those who survive the initial blast will face another deadly threat, namely a thick layer of ash covering their entire region, cutting them off from sunlight and plunging them into total darkness for months. With no sun to warm the planet and no wind to circulate the air, temperatures will plummet. Storms will rage and survivors will face constant earthquakes, tsunamis, and lahars. So yeah, that sounds pretty bad. But what really sets super eruptions apart is their ability to trigger climate change on a global scale. Large amounts of sulfur compounds released into the stratosphere can reflect sunlight away from the Earth, leading to a prolonged period of cooling. During the 1815 eruption of Mount Tambora, for example, temperatures fell around the world by several degrees, and the northern hemisphere experienced an anomalously cold summer. The eruption also triggered a massive tsunami that killed over 22,000 people in Indonesia. But what if an eruption were even larger? What if it were 1,000 times larger than Tambora, which is the largest eruption in recorded history? The impact on the climate would be catastrophic. Global temperatures could fall 20 degrees or more. Most plants would die. Food shortages and famine would decimate the human population. Many scientists believe that the last time this happened, 75% of the world's plant and animal species went extinct. The human population dropped from 5 million to only 500,000. Only the hardiest of humans survived, and they spread out across the planet and started again. Could this happen again? Well, it probably has. In fact, we may already be living through the aftermath of a super eruption. Around 75,000 years ago, the Toba catastrophe occurred when a supervolcano in Indonesia erupted with a force of 2,800 cubic kilometers of ash. It was the largest eruption in the past 26 million years. Ash covered Southeast Asia, of India, and even parts of Australia. Global temperatures plummeted 5 degrees Celsius for up to 6 years, blocking the sun and causing an ice age. This event had a drastic impact on human evolution. The older story goes that modern humans nearly went extinct, with only a small group surviving in sub-Saharan Africa. However, recent studies have cast doubt on this claim. One team of researchers analyzing DNA from 200 modern humans found no evidence of a genetic bottleneck around the time of the eruption. Instead, they found that modern humans in South Africa experienced a period of rapid population growth after the eruption, suggesting that humans were better equipped to adapt to the sudden climate change than previously thought. Ultimately, the evidence is inconclusive. But one thing is clear, we can't rule out the possibility that future super eruptions could threaten the human species once again. So let's imagine one does. Let's imagine that a new supervolcano emerges in the Pacific Ocean near Japan and begins rumbling to life. Earthquakes shake the surrounding islands, and scientists warn of an impending disaster. A massive evacuation is underway, but there is nowhere to go. There are no safe places left on the planet. The people of Japan must bid farewell to their loved ones and flee to sea in a desperate attempt to escape the coming doom. But it's too late. The volcano erupts with a force never seen before in human history. Hot gas and debris shoot into the atmosphere, and the energy of the blast is equivalent to 1,000 atomic bombs. Pyroclastic flows race through the islands, incinerating everything in their path. Lahars race down the mountains, turning what was once a bustling country into a desolate wasteland. Ash piles up over Japan and quickly drifts over the rest of the Pacific. Global temperatures plummet and a new ice age begins. Within months, most of humanity is dead, leaving only small pockets of survivors scattered around the world. Some huddle around dying fires and makeshift camps, desperately trying to keep warm. Others retreat into the jungles, hoping to live off the land. But there is nowhere to hide from the ash. It permeates every crevice, poisoning the soil and water supply. Crops fail, and famine ensues. Every day, more and more people die until there are only a handful of survivors left. The human race teeters on the edge of extinction. If this sounds like a grim future, Well, it's because it is. But it's also potentially a realistic one. The chances of a super eruption happening tomorrow are slim, but the chances of one happening sometime in the next several million years are high. We can only hope that by then we'll have evolved into a more resilient species, or at least learn to build better shelters. What do you think? Can civilization survive a super eruption? Or would it drive us back to the Stone Age? Let me know in the comments. And while you're at it, check out this video over here, which YouTube thinks you'll like. It's about a terrifying doomsday weapon that could have ended all life on Earth. Also, don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an awesome video. I've been your host. Keep an eye on the skies.